What's are some hard to swallow pills about relationships? At a certain point, you have to accept some particular negative parts of your partner's personality or move on. My husband is almost 50. We've been married for over 20 years. While he will continue to experience personal growth, there are parts of his personality that are likely to not ever change. The same is true for myself. Of course. Putting off ending things for fear of hurting someone's feelings is the worst possible idea. If the relationship isn't right and you know you don't want to be together, then sparing someone's feelings in the short term only leads to more pain later down the line. Losing your identity within a relationship is easy to do. Finding it again isn't. Remember to keep your friends and hobbies. Eventually, love is not being crazy in love all the time. You could do everything right and still lose. Not everyone will value your relationship like you do. It's very important to make sure you both have the same expectations and values. Otherwise, like two unequally yoked animals, you will continue to walk in circles over the same ground. When you decide to commit to your person, you are sacrificing your fantasy of being with them. In the crushing or beginning stages of a relationship, we are idealizing them as more perfect than they are. But we all have our faults. And in choosing to be together, we are met with reality versus fantasy. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you should be with them. Your partner should be kind to you and vice versa. It's not okay for your partner to scream at you or curse you out or deliberately hurt your feelings. This isn't to say that it never ever happens. We all are human and occasionally we mess up. But if they are not consistently kind to you, if they aren't sorry when they are mean, and if they repeat it, then that's a problem. If you wouldn't accept the behavior from a friend, then you absolutely should not accept it from a partner. The idea that it's normal for your partner to be mean to you is so freaking bad, and I've seen way too many people accept crappy relationships because they think love means never having to say sorry and that getting screamed at is acceptable. Once you get beyond the initial lust heart fluttery part of a romantic relationship, you begin to realize that love looks a lot different than the rom-com movies. It's not embracing in the pouring rain, kissing under the Eiffel Tower, trying to board the plane to convince them not to go. It's handing them a box of Cheez-Its when they get home from a 12-hour shift and are too exhausted to move. It's driving them to the airport at 3 a.m. for their dream job interview. It's managing their prescriptions when they get too sick to do it themselves. Relationships are often unglamorous, and while a committed relationship can be very rewarding, there's more to it than you and your hot partner canoodling and going on trips for the rest of your lives. Relationships can take a lot of work. Some of it that you will never see coming in the early days. Sometimes things don't work. Even if both parties are objectively wonderful people. Even if they love each other and enjoy their lives together. Sometimes things just get in the way and force you to make a hard choice. It takes two to be in a relationship. If one person is putting in all the effort and the other isn't, it's eventually all going to fall apart when the one who is giving the effort stops. Great relationships are mutual. You can't look for someone else to be your other half. You have to learn how to be a whole person on your own. This means being able to take care of your own emotional needs. 2. The ebb and flow of it all. As a teen, you chase the butterflies high of relationships. As an adult, you have to learn that as your hormones settle, you need settled too, and not constantly be seeking the highs and creating conflict to achieve them. Even though the highs are addicting, you need to learn to be good with the chill times. The comfort. The ease. Don't lose the butterflies completely. Of course. But don't create them with negative behavior. Create them by pulling your partner in for a long passionate kiss instead of the normal goodbye or hello peck. Or by planning a date or a fun new activity to experience together. Keep each other on your toes in a good way. But be okay when things are just so. They aren't going to magically know you're upset with them. They aren't going to read your passive-aggressive signs. They aren't going to pick up on that. Be direct. If you are upset, Talk to your partner about it. Not your friends. Not your parents. Not strangers on the internet. Your partner. Edit. WTF, this legit doubled my karma? When you look at someone with rose-colored glasses, all the red flags just look like flags. It's easy to dismiss toxic characteristics because of love. Sometimes you won't get that clarity until you're a safe distance away. Fixer-upper. Relationships often lead to disaster. Also, having children to fix your relationship. Terrible idea. Just don't. Human up and fix your issues. Lots of people are actually looking for contradictions in relationships. As Bo Burnham put it, you want someone insanely hot, but not someone obsessed with their looks. You want someone sensitive but not weak. A lot of people want someone who won't use them for anything, but who they can use themselves to fulfill their own needs or desires. I think the worst part of growing up for me has been the utter realization that lots of people want to use who they can to fit their own ends. It's not exactly always malicious, just practical. You grow more sensible as you age, and so you're less willing to tolerate relationships of any kind where you don't derive some sort of benefit. The result for me has been that I'm less trusting and more guarded, which only hinders finding genuine connections in love or friendship. Relationships do not have an instruction manual. Relationships are whatever the people involved want it to be. Sometimes what your soul wants is drastically different than what you want. No matter how much you love each other, you might not get past the differences. Love isn't everything. At least not love as most people interpret it. I wouldn't even say it necessarily takes work. Two people can love each other deeply while being terrible for each other, treating each other poorly, etc. All the love in the world doesn't compensate for lack of growth. If both people aren't growing and evolving over time, if the relationship doesn't foster growth and security, then love simply is irrelevant. It should go without saying, but you should always be on the same team. Never adversarial. People keep changing as their life goes on, and there are no guarantees that you and your partner will change in compatible ways. Someone can be your soulmate today, but in a year the person they've become may not be the soulmate of the person you've become. While you shouldn't simply give up on a relationship the moment you hit a rough patch, you also shouldn't let a happy past keep you in a miserable present. The person you're going to spend every day of the rest of your life with will be the person who is okay with you not wanting to hang out because you are hanging out with your friends or partaking in a hobby day. Doesn't get mad if you can't interact with them 24/7, 365. Challenges you to be better. As a partner. At work. In your hobby. As a parent. As a friend. In literally everything. But challenges you not out of shame or self-worth, but because they motivate you. This is a key. Maybe doesn't share your interests but is willing to listen to you discuss them. And likewise, you do the same for them. Sometimes you'll be abusive without being aware of it. Why did my abusive father cross the road? Beats me. Eventually one of you has to die first. If it endangers your mental health, it's not worth it. If someone is gonna cheat, there is no stopping them by checking their phone, messages, where they go or whatever. Everybody has a past life, history, things you may not like. It's easy to love all of their great experiences, but it can be challenging to accept some of their past life that disturbs you or you worry may be a problem still. Loving someone and being loved puts you in a position of mutual responsibility. Your actions affect the other person's emotions, and to some degree you are now accountable for how they feel. You need to be willing to make compromises because you value your partner's happiness and respect their needs. Everybody farts. Like a lot. Edit. Due to multiple comments, I have realized that the way this was worded was sending messages that were not the intended message. Therefore I have removed this comment until edits can be made to make sure that it is phrased in a way that does not send any unclear messages. When I have finished editing the comments to reflect this more accurately, I will repost it. The one part that I will leave up through the editing and clarification processes. Familial relationships also need the effort that all other types get, or else they will fall apart. Wrong person. Right time is a thing. But so is right person. Wrong time. And sometimes things just aren't meant at all. Over the course of 10 years, the person you fell in love with could transform into someone you'd never have gone on a second date with had they been that way when you met. Life's too short to set yourself on fire to keep somebody else warm. It's not sunshine and burritos every day. Sometimes you'll screw up. Sometimes they'll screw up. The relationships that are meant to last can and will get over every obstacle in their path. Love, and the oxytocin dependency that comes with it, can keep people together through almost anything, including mutual abuse, suffering, boredom and misery. Relationships aren't magical be-all and end-all cures for mental illness. I have seen depressed people walk into a relationship and destroy the people. A lot of it is boring. The magical moments and massive "I love you so much" posts on social media are like 2% of the time. A majority of a relationship is just everyday living. Your idea of a perfect relationship is the small sliver of it that TV, movies, and social media have led you to believe. You gotta look forward to sitting on the couch in sweatpants after eating so much stir fry you're both farting non-stop. Relationships can work based on mutual respect and connection. But the person next to you might not be your soulmate, just someone you care about and get along with. Your partner will poop and stink up the bathroom. It's disgusting. It's perfectly okay to want some space every once in a while between you and your partner. That they might just be dating you cause they want a boyfriend/girlfriend and they don't actually like you. You can meet the perfect person. But if it's not the right time, it's not going to work. The more time you spend crushing on someone, the less likely you will get to know them. Your brain will fill in the gaps with your fantasies, and they will not live up to your dreams. You will both change. It will not be the same forever. Learn to adapt your relationship. At some point one of you will have to sacrifice your job for the other. Is it worth it to you? Kids make it harder, not easier. You cannot change them. If you need a project, get a hobby. The right person may be someone you would never expect. Don't make choices based on your prejudices. It's not going to be perfect. Deal with it. And the only rules that matter are the rules you both agree to. No matter how good or happy you feel, it can all go to shit the next day or week. Your partner, or you, can one day just not love you anymore. And there is nothing you can do about it. If this happens to you, I hope you find peace faster than I do. Sometimes you can be perfect for each other, and it still won't work out. I dated someone amazing before COVID, who really was everything I was looking for, and so, during the first couple months of the lockdown, all her friends made plans to move. So she decided she needed to as well. To stay with people she cared about. I encourage and agree with that decision. You need to be around people who care about you, not just who you're dating. It still sucks. You can't ever truly repair the damage from breaking someone's trust. All relationships end with goodbye. Sometimes through breaking up and sometimes through death. That real. Long-term relationships require a lot of forgiveness. This isn't to say that abuse, cheating, disrespect or anything within that realm should be tolerated, but sometimes people genuinely FCK up. Sometimes your partner will say or do things that are less than favorable to you. Soul compatibility is important. Sometimes you just want some space. A little bit of peace and quiet. Alone time. It doesn't mean they love you any less. Sometimes people just need some time to themselves. You do not need to spend 24 hours a day together doing stuff together. I once told my brother that someone I dated turned out to be crazy. She was the batch T variety. His response was, Relationships are about realizing what level of crazy you are willing to put up with. It stuck with me. Just because you still love your partner doesn't mean they also still love you. And if they don't, they're under no obligation to stay in the relationship. No matter how much it hurts you when they leave. Relationships are a two-way street. It is work. It's not just happily ever after and you're happy forever. But if you're willing to put in the effort, it's very worth it. In my experience anyway. I don't know how hard to swallow this is. But you're both eventually going to get older and fatter and accept it. It is very possible to love someone too much. No one loves anyone unconditionally. Not loving anymore your partner is not an excuse for cheating. If you are not happy in a relationship, leave, and then you can pursue a new love interest. Also, if someone cheats on his spouse with someone, it's very likely he will cheat again in the new relationship when the excitement is over. Happy wife. Happy life is bullshit. Just because one is happy doesn't mean the other one is too. Happy house. Happy spouse is the way to go. That love is never gonna be the same as when you first fall in love with each other, aka puppy love. Love changes. Just as you and your partner change. The key is to communicate how you feel. Even if you rather wouldn't. And work on making it work together. Sometimes you or your partner wants to have some alone time. Other days you'll want to spend the entire day together, at home. Or going on a date. Edit. Also, I would like to add. You'll hit rough patches. You'll argue. You'll fight. You'll cry. It's all part of it. What makes a difference is how you deal with these challenges. If you put in effort to prevent hurting one another. If you work on it together and come out stronger together. You know you found the right one. Your loved one can wake up tomorrow and decide they don't love you anymore. Dumb people have happier ones. Neo through a copyright airing. Around a year and a half in. Maybe 2 maximum. You're gonna have that moment where your feelings towards them shift from limerence, that heady in love feeling, to actual long-term love. Or to nothing at all. Nobody gets out of that. Everybody gets to that point. But that's not the hard to swallow part. The hard to swallow part is that. After that. Love isn't something that just happens to you. It's something that you both do. It stops being a noun and becomes a verb. It becomes a lot more difficult. But a lot more rewarding too. Also way harder to get over. So. Well. Be aware of that. If you get a pet together and things go south. One of you isn't getting the pet. Reddit is about 90% teens anymore. I would take any advice here with a grain of salt. Open relationships are doomed to fail. I wholeheartedly agree. I believe that trading of intimacy for novelty is unwise. Not to mention, it rarely seems like both parties are okay with it. I so frequently learn that one partner has made it a condition of the relationship at some point. And the other has gone along with it. Personally, I think it's unhealthy. The majority of them come to an end. You're not the one. You become each other's one. You are both deeply flawed, and that should be acknowledged. Idolizing only makes it harder when something should be addressed. As my dad always says, you might not always like your so, but you should always love them. To quote Captain Picard, yeah, I get lots of dates. It is possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. It is the truth. You could be what your partner is looking for and act how they want you to act, not saying to change yourself, but that you just are that kind of person they like. Even if you are what they want in a partner, they just may not want you. It is not a fault of your own, that is just life. That's just sometimes the way relationships and attraction work, or don't work. Also, when it's over, it's over. When the feelings of either party have changed from wanting to be with you to not wanting to be with you, there is almost no chance that those feelings will change. It does happen. Sometimes people separate or work through it, but it is exceedingly rare. If someone doesn't want to be with you anymore, understand that any effort you put in after that point will almost certainly be wasted and lead to further pain and suffering for both parties further down the line. He's never changed a diaper. Doesn't know how to feed them. Has never dealt with a night wake up and I do all the housework and work full time. I'm at the end of my rope, but I don't want to leave him. He's such a great father. He's not a great father. A great father doesn't just play with a kid when the mood strikes him. A great father is an equal caregiver because he loves his kids and wants to do things for them.